The technique of infrared spectroscopy, or IR spec, evolved from the work of many scientists. In 1800, William Herschel proposed that temperature changes occur due to absorption of infrared light, and by the early 1900s, William Coblenz had collected the IR spectra of many hundreds of organic compounds. At this time, spectrometers were self-assembled, and it took many hours to complete a single spectrum. In 1949, the Fourier transform infrared spectrometer was first developed, featuring a beam splitter, and by the 1960s, IR spec instruments were fully automated and highly efficient. IR spec works by bombarding a molecule with infrared radiation to excite its bonds, which will vibrate in distinctive bending and stretching patterns. Absorption occurs when vibrational frequency is the same as infrared frequency, measured in wave number. Absorption is measured by percent transmittance and illustrated by the depth and shape of the absorption peak. Like springs, weaker bonds vibrate at low frequency, and lighter atoms vibrate at high frequency. This is what allows us to isolate many bonds and identify functional groups that appear in a spectrum. Our samples are analyzed using an FTIR spectrometer, and they are presented on highly compressed sodium chloride plates. Salt plates are used because they have ionic attractions and not molecular bonds, so they won't interfere with the sample spectrum. They scratch easily, so handle them by the sides only. To start, remove your plates from their container and from the felt pouch. Use tissues to protect your workspace and to handle the plates. Use a pipetter to place a couple drops of nonpolar solvent on the plate. We will use ether, but you can also use acetone or dichloromethane. Do not use polar solvents like water or ethanol, as they will dissolve the salt plate. Use a tissue to gently wipe the plate clean, making sure to get both sides. You do not want any cloudiness or large scratches on the plate, so if needed, you can swap the plate out for a new one. For liquid samples, a pipetter will be used to place 2 or 3 drops in the sample of the plate, and the other plate will be used to sandwich. You can give the plates a small twist if needed to evenly disperse liquid throughout the plates. For solid samples, you will only need a small amount of your compound to dissolve in 5 milliliters of nonpolar solvent, such as dichloromethane. Use a pipetter to place drops of your sample in the center of the plate until liquid nearly reaches the edges of the plate. Allow the sample to air dry, and you can give it a little assistance if needed. You want to make sure that your sample is evenly dispersed on the plate and especially present in the center of the plate where the IR laser will read. Carefully move your samples to the IR instrument. First, you will obtain your background spectrum. Place your blank plate into the sample holder and insert it into the instrument. Remember to remove your gloves before touching the computer and starting analysis. Now you will replace your blank plate with your sample plate. Make sure when you insert it into the instrument, your sample is facing up and not into the sample holder. Close the lid and start analysis again. When complete, you are ready to analyze your spectrum.